this is going to be a pretty long video, and I'm going to cover a lot of things. At first, let me say that if you actually, how do I put this? If you actually listen to this whole video, um, thank you, first of all, for putting some weight in my words that you think they're of value enough to spend your time with. Thank you for that. But also, you should probably consider the fact that it's pretty rare for nowadays for people to actually do that. I think our attention spans are so short nowadays to block out time to just focus on something is getting, I think, rarer and rarer. And I'm getting to a point with that. And I'll in this video, I'm actually going to talk about several different things, and I'll guide you through that. But first, let me talk about an incident. Happened a long time ago. It was maybe 20 years ago. Incident's too strong a word, but I was at a friend's house. There's a bunch of people there, and it was evening. I don't know. It might have been for football or something. I forget. But I remember that it was the peak night for a meteor shower. So I mentioned that. I said, hey, tonight's a big meteor shower night. We should go outside and check it out. Why not? And people were like, yeah, that's cool. It's kind of cool. And so we all went outside, and I was kind of a little bit shocked because then the conversation turned to an app on cell phone app, and which is kind of cool. But then they all started doing this thing where with this app on your phone, you hold your phone up, and then you can see the night sky, and it says what everything is, no matter what direction you're facing with the phone. It's like a GPS for the starry night. And which is kind of cool. And but the thing about that was it lasted 10 minutes, and then it was back in the house. And I thought to myself, the night sky, it's, I guess for all intents and purposes, is eternal. And it's not something to be just, you know, viewed for 5, 10 minutes and then on to the next thing. And I'm not blaming or really criticizing, but I'm thinking, that's just the world we live in now. I'm like, I remember spending, just hours upon hours in quiet contemplation with binoculars or a telescope or under the stars, and it it affects who you are as a person and how you are, and just that quiet contemplation with something so spectacular as a starry night. And we're kind of missing that now because we're all so wound up and caffeinated and clicking and switching from thing to thing and thing and everything so fast. And so what's happened to the pace of life is just, I think, it might be untenable. It might be, how long can we, how much faster can it get? So this is what I want to, I guess a major point I want to say to you is, if you can, try to at some point soon, if you're in the northern hemisphere, you may wait till spring because it's really might be really cold out for you, but try to really block yourself out a night or two to spend a couple of hours at least with the night sky. There's a connection there that we've lost. I think our predecessors used to take it for granted. It was so omnipresent, it was always there, easily accessible. But for us, it's not anymore. We have so many other distractions in our life that we don't really think that much about the stars. Although I think we, as people, yearn for it. Because I did a book signing this summer with an astronomy club, and they were having another meteor shower. Just coincidentally, there was a meteor shower, so they get some press in the local newspaper, and come out and use the telescopes, and see the meteor shower and, just enjoy astronomy. And there was a really good turnout. A lot of people showed up. I was really, really pleased by that. Not for book sales, but for the thought that people are curious about the night sky and want to know and do sense the wonder and the mystery in it, because that's what it really is. There's a spectacular mystery in the night sky. And so get out and just make that commitment to just do it. And you don't even need a book, just over telescope or binoculars or anything. You just need a dark sky. So you may have to make arrangements to get away from the city to do it, but I highly recommend you do that. If you're in a city or near a city and there's a lot of light pollution, it pretty much ruins the night sky. So get away from the city however you need to. It may end up to be a trip that you always remember. So I, I'm wanted to talk to you a little bit about my presence here in Arizona, and that's because the night sky is one of the biggest reasons that drew me out here. You may know that the end of last year, Christmas time, not of 2017 Christmas time, my telescope book came out, and now I'm here in Arizona to write another telescope book. I'm staying a year, and this one's going to be different. I I don't want this one to be another. All right, here are the major stars, and here are the constellations, and here's how you identify and categorize things. Because when you identify and categorize things, you change them. And that's fine. We need to do that in order to keep order out of chaos, right? But I'm trying to do something different with this book. But so I wanted to move on to another point. Um, the night sky is a time machine. I'll just blurt that out. I won't spring that on you. And you may know this, you may not know it, but when you're looking at something that is that far away, it took a long time for that light to get here, arrive to your eye. Like for the sun, I think it's 9 minutes. So what you see actually was the sun 9 minutes ago in local time. And as you get further and further out real quick, it becomes years. Like many of the stars are 50, 100, 1,000 light years away, which means what you're seeing that star as is actually how it was, 1,000 years ago. And this quickly gets into the millions of years too, like the Andromeda Galaxy. I forget offhand, I should know this, but we're talking 1 million years ago. So you're actually seeing the galaxy, the little puffball of cotton in the sky, as it was 1 million years ago. It's no longer that way. So there's a profoundness in that I really like. So I wanted to get to my. I'm going to make one more point here, and it's the major, I guess, theme of my talk, and it stems from a story I'll tell you from high school. And I think I may have told you this story before, but it's very relevant here. So, ninth grade high school, I'm a high school freshman, and one of the things they used to do then, I don't know what they do now, but they used to have all these tests where just checkups and health checks and stuff for the whole school, just to, check, see if everyone's okay. And one of the things was a color blindness test, which I didn't know I was going to take. But the school nurse takes you into her office one at a time, and she shows you these cards with colored numbers on them. And can you recollect that? Do you ever have that test? It's like a circle with bubbles in it. There's all these little gray bubbles, just hundreds of bubbles. And in those bubbles, you'll see a number like a 6 or a 7 or a 9 or a 3 of a color, a blue or a green or a red or an orange or whatever. So I'm going through the test, and I'm like, oh, that's a 6. Oh, that's a 3. That's a 7. That's a 9. And then I come to a card where I saw nothing. It was all gray bubbles, no number at all. And I looked at it and I was like, what? You know, I didn't see anything. And I can still see the nurse looking at me and she asked me, can you see a number? I said, no. No. I strained my eyes and she said, that's okay. You don't, you're allowed to get that one wrong, which I just a strange way to say it. You're allowed to get that one wrong. Well, come to find out that so I'm colorblind in this one particular shade of a color. I can't remember now what color it is. A shade of blue, a shade of magenta, or red, or something. I don't remember. But I am colorblind to this one particular shade, and that set me off on this quest of it's there, and I just can't see it. Right? I It's true. It's there, and I'm just blind to that color. So, and I often refer to that incident in my life when it comes to the meaning of life. And I have a whole bunch of stuff on my website about the search for meaning of life. If you're interested in something like that, you should go look. Uh, but this leads me into the final point of my talk about the night sky. And before I get into that, let me just say a little bit. So, let me finish my other thought where get yourself a lounge chair. I wanted to make that point and I didn't. Get yourself a lounge chair, nice lounge chair, so you can lay back and just look at the stars. Get away from city lights, dress up warm, bring yourself some stuff, and just spend an evening with the night sky. I don't know, go camping. Get to a clear space where there's trees don't occlude your vision, and do that. I wanted to really make that point, so I stress that a lot. It's important because it's a connection. Okay, so let me finish with my long. It's going to be a long finish, but this is the final point I wanted to make. So when it comes to telescopes and the night sky and stars and our eye, your eye, your eye is this little thing this size of a quarter, and when you look at something in deep space, a star, a galaxy, a nebula, you barely discern just a little bit of it. But you get it. You see a little bit of it. And a telescope, if you're not familiar with it, kind of acts just like a bigger eye. Your eye can only gather in so much light because it's of its size. And a telescope is an eye that's bigger. And one of the critical things is it also bends that light down into a little cone so its eye sees more, and then it bends that down to fit into your eye. It's kind of a strange thing, but think of a funnel. You can pour a lot of water into a funnel, and it funnels it down into a stream so it can fit into a smaller container, a thinner mouth container, right? That's what a telescope does for your eye. So, and the bigger the telescope in terms of lens or mirror, the more light it gets. So if you have a telescope that's a foot wide with a big foot wide mirror, you get a lot more light than your eye can get, so you see more of the thing, the nebula or the galaxy. And if let's extrapolate this out. If the telescope is 10 feet wide, that's a big eye. It gathers more light, more water into the funnel, and then it focuses it down to a size that can fit your eye. All right? But here's the big thing that kind of almost bothers me. That light is there. We just can't see it, right? Your eye you just don't see it. You only get a little portion of it. And so if the telescope is 100 feet, you get a lot more light, and that was there already. You just couldn't see it. And that telescope gets it. So how big can we get with this telescope? Maybe there's practical limits on things, but let's say the telescope is a mile wide You're still getting more from that object, that nebula. That was the light was already there, just couldn't see it. All right? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say it's like the colorblind test. Um, the color is there, you just couldn't see it. So, and that's important. So let's make our telescope even bigger. Now our telescope is 50 miles. Are we getting more than a 10-mile telescope? Yes. So we're seeing the nebula even richer and deeper and more magnified and more detail. How far out can we go with this? And here's the thing. Can we make a telescope as large as the whole universe? So then, theoretically, I use that term loosely, we would gather all the light from all the things. Do you see the profoundness in that? So, it was because it's already all there. Now, it's a bit paradoxical, but it's all right there already. You just need a telescope large enough to see it. So if the telescope is the size of the universe, you gather all the light from all things and you see it. So what that means, I guess you can say, is that it's all already all there, right? It was all there when with just your eye you just could only see a portion of it. You had a mile wide telescope and you could see more of it. It eventually gets to the point where the telescope is the size of the universe and you see all of it all at once. And so I think that everything in the universe is already there. How can I properly describe this? It's every single thing in the universe is there everywhere at any time in every space. We just can't see it because we're not don't have the equipment, the ability to do that. But and I think we can expand that out to. I wanted to expand that out to the fact that all light, all matter, all seeing, all hearing, all of everything, including time and space, is everywhere in all times at one time. It's a paradox, but I think there's something to that. All of light, all of things, all of time, all of history, all of the people, all of the creatures, all of the interactions, everything is everywhere and in one single point throughout all of time forever. So this brings me to a, we'll call it a flipping. I guess I don't know what else to call it. But so we build telescopes. Why? Because to try to understand the the everything around us. I love that way of putting it. The everything to the everything that is the one thing, the one and the everything around us. And but I get this sneaking. We don't under we don't fully understand it, so we seek to understand it by creating this thing that helps us to see in the color range we don't see. And I have this sneaking suspicion that that's actually a beautiful loop in that. How do I put this? The universe is doing the same thing to us. That's pretty good. we don't fully understand ourselves, we don't fully understand the universe, and we seek to understand it better. And the universe is doing the same thing. The universe itself is doesn't fully understand itself, and it's using us as a telescope. And we can't see it because we're colorblind to it. And when it comes down to the mystery of the night sky, the mystery of the everything, the mystery of the paradox of the universe being all in one place at one time, and what it's all about, to generalize, and not trying to tease out that riddle. I sometimes think it's okay because you're allowed to get that one wrong.